Thank you so much for joining today's webinar. Welcome to our webinar, Lunch and Learn Higher Level Apprenticeships. What are they and how they can benefit your business? Hosted by the Mid Ulster Labour Market Partnership. This webinar is part of the Apprenticeship Week NI. My name is Patrick and I will be comparing today's session, which focuses on higher level apprenticeships. Firstly, a quick introduction to our three speakers today. First of all, we'll have Noreen McAleer, Higher Level Apprenticeship Manager at Southwest College, and she will provide us with an informative presentation, and then we will hear from Deborah Irvine, Project Manager at Scott's Bakery. Deborah's current focus is on IT developments within the company, and she will discuss why and how Scott's Bakery decided to go down the HLA route. Following on from Deborah, we will then hear from Shane McCullough, Director at McAleer and Rushe. Shane will review the advantages of higher level apprenticeships, as well as the challenges faced by McAleer and Rushe's and how they overcame them to implement HLA programs. We will then close the webinar with a Q&A session where you can put in your questions to the panel. So just before we get started, we'll go over some housekeeping notes. So today's session is being recorded so that we can upload it to the Council's YouTube channel for those who can't attend. But cameras and microphones are turned off for all attendees, so you'll not be seen or heard at any time during this session or recording. We'd love for you to make most out of today's session and ask any questions you would like to. You can do this by using the Q&A function on your Zoom toolbar. Just pop your question in there with the name of the speaker you would like to ask this to, and we'll pick all of these at the end of the Q&A session. If you wish to ask your question anonymously, you can do so whilst choosing and typing your question. Now, over to our first speaker of the day, I'm going to hand over to Noreen.
Bear with me, folks. I'm just trying to get my... Hi, everyone. My name is Noreen McAleer, and I'm the Higher Level Apprenticeship and Business Process Manager at Southwest College. And I'm here today to talk specifically about higher level apprenticeships. Apprenticeships have been around for many years at level 2 and 3, and traditionally were linked to trades. However, that has changed at all levels, but particularly with higher level apprenticeships. And I will go into more detail in my other slides about what we have available at Southwest College. Next slide, please. So what are higher level apprenticeships? Higher level apprenticeships, commonly known as HLAs, were introduced by the Department of the Economy in response to industry demand. They were introduced in 2014 as a pilot, and because of their success, they were mainstreamed in 2017, so they're here to stay, and they're getting more popular by year on year. They were established to counteract the severe skills gap at technician level that industry were facing. So students studying HLAs, really the plan is that they will become middle management in your organisation. How did they work? HLAs, industry take HLAs on as employees of the company. So they're not really classed as a student, even though they attend the college. They're employees of the company. And you as the employer must agree to release the HLA for 1 day a week to study at the college. So our academic year is 30 weeks in the year. So you would release them for 1 day, for 30 weeks. And you must pay the HLA salary while studying their higher education. So they get paid for the time that work, but you invest in them to come in to study at the college, and hopefully that will be rewarded when they have completed their studies and they become an asset to your company. To be an eligible HLA employer, so the department fund the programme, they set out the HLA eligibility criteria. So to be eligible, you must be a Northern Ireland based private employer. Now, the department are currently looking at, and that might change and go public sector, but at the minute, you must be a Northern Ireland based private employer. And you can have a head office down south or across the water or whatever, but you must have a permanent base in Northern Ireland. And you employ the HLA in a role that is relevant to the course of study. So if they're studying accountancy, it's an accounting role. If they're studying business role. And you must pay the HLA slightly different than apprentices at level 2 and 3. You must pay them at basic minimum wage or above, not apprenticeship rate. So what a lot of employers will start off doing is they'll start them off at basic minimum wage. And then when they realise that they've become such an asset to their company, they will review the salary on a regular basis. Some, if they're not performing, then that's your opportunity to review the whole programme. How does it work for the HLAs? They're not liable for any fees. The Department of the Economy fully fund the programme on behalf of the students. So they pay all the college fees. And as HLAs, they're not entitled to student loans. They don't have any debt. So complete their full study and they don't have any debt. And again, because they're your employee, they're not entitled to college holidays. Who can apply? There are 3 different types of people who can apply. Students who have completed their A-levels or BTEC, because it will need UCAS points to get in on programs. Or someone who's taken up new employment. or an existing employee in your company moving to a new job role, so somebody who wants to upskill. And now things have changed. I've been managing this programme for 10 years, and traditionally it would have been more mature students, and now the majority of HLAs studying at South West College are school leavers who traditionally would have went to university. Next slide, please. We're now going to look at some stats for FE colleges in Caffrey. Now, this doesn't take into account the universities. That's the way the department do the stats. If we look at the slide, we can see the total number of HLAs enrolled at FE colleges in Caffrey in the academic year 23-24, so that's last year. There was an annual increase of 22%, with a total of 1,870 HLA students enrolled across multiple HLA programmes. And you can see from the graph that there's been a year-on-year growth on the HLA programme. Next slide, please. There were 955 HLA new starts in 23-24, and this continues to rise with an increase of 13% from 22-23. There are currently, as I said, 1,870 HLAs enrolled in programmes across the sector. And the results speak for themselves, and you can see there on the right-hand side where the success rate is 91%. So that's a really, really high success rate for HLA students, because it's tough route. They're working, they're studying, they're doing self-study on top, they're in with us for a long day. So 91% is an excellent success rate. Next slide, please. HLAs are offered by FE providers in Northern Ireland from level 4 to 7. So A levels, BTEC are level 3. So it's anything after level 3 becomes higher education. Degrees level 6. Master's professionals are level 7. So you can see from the table, the South West College had the highest number of new starts in September 23, with 270 new HLAs. So we currently now have 570 HLAs studying at the college across a range of programmes, from accountancy through to computing, engineering, a raft of programmes. Next slide, please. This slide shows the most popular HLA sector subject areas for 23-24 intake, with engineering and manufacturing being the most popular. And really, they have been from the start. Engineering was involved in the very pre-pilot programme back in 2012. However, you will notice, and that has changed, business and administration and law sector is now growing, with 230 new sector enrolments in September 23. And South West College were the first to introduce business into the HLA world, and it's really taken off. So that's great for industry. The three most popular areas in South West College are engineering first, and we are in Mid Ulster, construction, and then business and accounting. We currently have 155 HLAs studying accountancy and business at the college, and 6 of our accounting students were placed in the top 10 in Ireland out of over 1,800 students, so not Northern Ireland, all Ireland. And that goes to show the calibre of student who's now choosing to study as a HLA. Next slide, please. I'm very pleased to say that Mid Ulster has the highest number of students studying as HLAs in the FE sector, and that's not taking into account the Mid Ulster students who are studying at the local universities. I don't have that information, but that's Mid Ulster have the most at the FE sector level and Caffrey. Next slide, please. Sorry, my screen is just frozen. This slide shows the growth in the number of HLAs participating in programmes at South West College. And you can see there on the left-hand side, this increased from 218, I've jumped a wee bit forward there. This slide shows how the programme has developed since its inception. So back in 2017, we offered 6 programmes. We now offer 16 programmes. That's the way that the delivery has changed. That's demand. And this includes, and you see on the right-hand side, I don't know if you can see the detail there, but this includes accountancy, business, computing, engineering, construction, civil engineering, hospitality and tourism, and building services. So there's a raft of programmes. And a number of subject areas, not them all, but in the majority of them, the HLAs can then obtain their honours degree as a HLA at South West College. So next slide now, please. This slide shows the growth in the number of HLAs participating in the programme at South West College. And this has increased from 218 in 2021 to 579 in 24-25. So we've almost 600 HLAs now studying here at the college. Next slide, please. We work with over 50 schools in the Mid Ulster and Fermanagh and Mid Ulster Council areas. And last year, over 30% of our HLA intake were grammar school students who traditionally wouldn't have considered the tech as is commonly known, or indeed an apprenticeship. But HLAs have completely changed that vision. I was, matter of interest, I was in boys' school yesterday, boys' grammar school yesterday in Oma, and practically the entire class are going to choose the HLA route, and they don't want to go directly to university. They want to get the degree, but they're going to choose the route. So that's practically a class of about 22 to 25 students in one school. We currently work with over 100, up on 300 HLA employers, and we work with many more employers, but we work with specifically with 300 HLA employers, and they're based all over Northern Ireland. Next slide, please. So why would you want to employ a HLA? Employing HLAs can offer numerous benefits to employers in Northern Ireland, and I'm sure that the other presenters from industry can attest to that. So they bring fresh ideas and perspectives which can drive innovation within the company. They're often highly motivated and eager to learn, bringing enthusiasm and a strong work ethic. Employers can tailor the training to meet specific needs, ensuring HLAs develop industry relevant skills. So industry deliver the training on that side of things, and then we deliver the academic side, and both together work really well. The HLAs can contribute to the business while they learn, providing immediate value. As HLAs gain skills and experience, they can take on more responsibilities, increasing overall productivity. Training HLAs internally can reduce the need for expensive recruitment processes for skilled positions. HLAs can be mentored for future leadership roles, and that's the plan, ensuring a pipeline of skilled and local employees. Supporting HLAs demonstrates a commitment to developing local talent and contributing to the community. And finally, we invite industry in, and they have input to our curriculum design. So we have what's called foundation degrees, and we revalidate them every year with the university. And we bring industry in and we ask what's needed out there, and we try to, if where possible, to tailor our curriculum. So students they're learning industry relevant curriculum, not something that's out of a textbook that's 10 or 15 years old. Next slide, please. If you're interested in recruiting a HLA, South West College offer a complementary and comprehensive support service where we link employers with HLA applicants. And employers can advertise their vacancies on the site free of charge, and applicants can apply directly on the site. We had a huge success with the portal last year, but it's currently under development to make it even bigger and better, and should be operational for mid-February. So there's a lot of work went on behind the scenes last year, and we're trying to streamline that whole thing. Can I have the next slide, please? So, so when the new HLA Connect portal is ready to go, employers can register their interest in advertising HLA vacancies, and applicants can apply for these vacancies. So when you log on, you will be able to see who has applied for the vacancy. The CV will be built into the portal, whereas traditionally we would have had to get the CV sent in. So we built that in, asking a series of questions on the portal, because we're sending in CVs, or student leavers were sending in CVs, and there was parts missing, and vital information was missing. So we built that into the portal. And then employers can go in directly, they can go in directly to the portal, see who's applied for the jobs, and then contact directly. So that cuts out that middle person being me, and speeds up the whole employment process. Next slide, please. South West College run a number of employer events where we invite employers who wish to recruit HLAs. We invite them into the college, and other apprentices, not just HLAs. And this is an opportunity for the employers to meet with the students who've applied to do an apprenticeship and are seeking employment. So we normally have up to 60, 70 companies attending those events, and we run them. There's 3 different events. The upcoming events, we've had our open days, they just finished last night. The next big event is Get Engineering, and that's on Saturday morning on the 29th of March in Dungannon campus here from 9:30 to 1:30. And that's not just for engineering, it's called Get Engineering, and that's where it started. But we've had our 10th anniversary last year, so there's many more employers come to that, not just specifically engineering employers. We then have Apprentice Connect events, and that's where we invite employers in who want to recruit at all levels of apprenticeships. And then we invite all the people who have applied to do the apprenticeship, and that's the opportunity for the two to meet and maybe have a mini interview. They come along with their CV, and that's a great opportunity. So we have 3, they run 3 consecutive sessions. Oma session is on Tuesday the 29th of April, Dungannon's on Wednesday the 30th of April, and then Enniskillen's on Thursday the 1st of May. So that's an opportunity, if you're interested, to come along to meet the applicants. Can I have the final slide, please? Finally, I would like to thank Colleen and Shelley from the Labour Market Partnership at Mid Ulster District Council for arranging this webinar during Northern Ireland Apprenticeship Week, and which gave me the opportunity to speak with you all today. Thank you for listening, and I'm happy to reply to any questions at the end of the session. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much, Noreen. I'm sure everyone will agree that was a very insightful presentation. So next we're now going to move on to hear from Deborah from Scott's Bakery. Deborah, if I can invite you on and take the lead, and I will just unshare my screen so you can share your slides.
Yeah, 1 second. Yeah.
That's perfect, Deborah. Yes,
Yeah.
thank you so much.
Afternoon, everyone. Yeah, I'm Deborah from Scott's Bakery, and here it's nice to be with everybody this afternoon. Just take a few minutes to give you a quick overview of our partnership with the Southwest College and how that's helped develop our team. Some of you may wonder about the opportunities that may exist within bakery for HLAs. Or even possibly your own business, and hopefully by the end of this short presentation it might have given you a better idea of how it has worked for us and how it may work for you. For those who don't know us, we're based in Town in County Tyrone, and we're established in 1968. Our business just focuses on the manufacture of small cakes, fairy cakes, cupcakes, butterflies and muffins, and we would employ around 260 people, and with a turnover of 38 million. It is a family business, and with the current owners being the Elliots. We have a lot of technical standards, just being even within food, where we would have to comply with BRC and different sustainable resourcing, and with regards to even just employees, ethical things such as SEDEX. So we make sure that we comply to all of that there. This just gives you an overview of some of our types of products that you might have seen out and about in stores. So we do fairy cakes, muffins. We also do gluten-free, and started doing little mini loaf cakes, and we do a lot of seasonal stuff, which basically tries to kind of keep the product interesting for the customers throughout the year. But a lot of these little variations, and you'll see different types of frosting and toppings, and a lot of that kind of takes a lot of management, which is where even some of what we're looking at with regards to the apprenticeships and engineering, where new designs and new machines are needed to create different types of products. It's really it's an important part of all of what we do. But really getting back to HLAs and in your business, really as a company, like we have grown quite a lot over the last few years, and as a company grows, it's really important that we have the right resource available to support that growth and to keep the business moving forward. The guy actually here, Rob, he's actually our IT manager now. He started off in HLA in Enniskillen, and so that was him 10 years ago. But so it just shows how kind of people can move on from being in the workshop welding and doing different things, and now he's our IT manager. I suppose really just as an overview, you know, like every customer, every business has a customer, and that's their focus. And you know, they have a high service level expectation, and really our job as managers is to make sure that we put the right resource in place. And that's not just on, you know, yeah, we need to bring people in to do the physical work on the floor of producing the goods, but it's also making sure that that production support around the manufacturing operations, that we make sure that we keep that pool of people coming in. And I suppose that's really where we seen that the HLA was a really good opportunity to do that. When did we start our HLA programs and apprenticeships? Because we do run both side by side. I know this is a session really talking about HLAs, but we do actually run both apprenticeships and HLAs here in the bakery. But really it was back in 2014, which actually, just listening to Noreen's dates there, was in the infancy of the HLA programs, and it was the engineering team, and Calvin, who manages our engineering team, this is one of his guys, Dylan, who would have started off in the HLA, and he now really runs the engineering department on the floor. And they started that back in 2014. And the team has really been built up through the HLAs and through apprenticeships, and there's a team now of 11 guys within the engineering workshop, and they support production through day shift and night shift. And you know, it's just back to the service level. We can't afford for the machines to go down, so a lot of the guys do what they do is they build the machines themselves so that they know and they understand how all the components are put together. And if something does break down, you know, it might be down for half an hour, but the guys have the knowledge and understanding of the whole components and the wiring and the electrics, and they can get that machine put back together. We don't have to rely on bringing someone across from the UK because we've bought a machine over there, you know, and that proves that we just don't have any downtime. And you know, that has been a really good principle, and it works really well. And the guys, they're a young team, they're a motivated team, and they really enjoy what they do. So, you know, it's quite wide, and within engineering, you know, there's the automation and controls, and, you know, you can see some of the detail around there with regards to PLC programming and robotics. And then, you know, even just then, some of the guys that might be more practical and hands-on and are not so much into the programming side, where they get on with the welding and the fabrication of the machines and AutoCAD. So, you know, it's a wide range, and the Southwest College and their modules support all of what we need our engineers to do, and it has worked really well for us. We kind of generally, we would give them a broad overview of the whole area, but the different students kind of end up focusing or take a natural flair or a skill for a particular area, and then they'll go and they'll train themselves further, and we'll give them further training, and they just naturally will have an instinct to one might be to welding, one might be to pneumatics. So all of that, that's how we build up the team and the resource there to manage all of what we need. More recently, further to the implementation of a new ERP system, and even just customer demands with regards to EDI and sending out dispatch notes, advice, and invoicing by EDI, you know, that has grown quite a bit, and that's the basic expectation of the customers. And even things like, you know, improvements in how we manage people's time and clocking people in and out. You know, we recently installed even like facial recognition. But as the business continues to grow and the customer expectations grow, again, we've had to put resource around that. And we kind of seen that there was a gap for that. And only last year, Noreen was mentioning about what I've called them open days. I'm not sure what they were called. But we would have attended the open days where the employer could go and connect with the students, and we found it really, really useful that, you know, we could talk to the students, talk to their families, and that they actually just seen a realization of the opportunities that there is within bakery. And I would recommend that it's a worthwhile evening going to. So we started our first HLA in computing science there in September last year, and he is really enjoying it so far. And I'll not keep us too long and go over the detail of this, but you know, with regards to the technology side of things and the computing side of things, you know, this is a bit of an overview of the different types of functions that we need, the skills that we need, the softwares that you need to interact with, the languages that the students need to know and understand and be able to write. because what we've kind of found is if you're looking at something simple on the front, there's generally layers in behind, which is making it all happen. And, you know, all of this, understanding how to write code, how to put it in a proper data flow that supports the front end and takes steps out of what people are actually having to do and improve efficiency in the business. That's what it all comes back to. A big part of it, if of regards to how to manage the apprentice program, is really having a really good training plan in place. We would start all of our apprentices out learning and understanding how things work basically on the floor, because if they don't understand what the production operatives is doing, they can't actually support that. So they would all have a time of understanding what is happening on the floor. They would be given many projects to do, and then they would then learn all of the business functions before we actually get into the day-to-day applications of engineering or IT. Because to support any of what we're doing, they just need to understand how the business actually works as an overview. So we would review this production or this training plan with the Southwest College academic mentor throughout the year. There's about 3 reviews a year. So I suppose really just getting down to Noreen mentioned some of the benefits. Like, there is some challenges as well with employing fresh talent. You know, you do have to realize that you do need time to support their learning, and you know, it will take time. Like, they do come out, there's some of them, like, we take them on from GCSE or from A level, but they're coming out of school and they are pretty green. But if you give them the time and the opportunity to learn, like we have found, they just soak it all up. And like Noreen mentioned, you know, they are enthusiastic, and here it's great to bring fresh blood into the business and fresh ideas. So some of the advantages that we find is that they understand the business from the roots up, and I suppose that's because of the way that we would approach their training. We all know as a company we have our own way of doing things, and your HLA will learn this as part of, you know, they're also supporting their academic career. You know, when you bring in a graduate, you still have to train them even after they've done their education. So we kind of found it a benefit that we might as well train them up in our way as they're actually getting their education. And what we found is that we do, with the team have, you know, we do a really good retention in the team, because I suppose they have a buy-in to that. They know that we've bought into them and they recognize our investment in their career development. So it generally, you know, we find that they work really well for us, and I think it's something as a business we're going to keep doing. And that's all from me, and I hope that has been useful.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Deborah. Again, it's great to hear how HLAs are working for Scott's Bakery. Thank you so much for that.
Have I stopped sharing? Yeah.
I will stop sharing your screen for you, Deborah. Thank you so much. Okay, next we're going to hear from Shane McCullough from McAleer Rushe. Shane, if I can ask you to just turn on your camera there for me, that would be amazing. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, everyone. Very informative so far. I'm going to be taking us through, I suppose, a little bit from, just like Deborah, from an employer's perspective, and the advantages and the challenges then that we've found with the HLA program as to date. So if we just move to the first slide, please, Padraig. So just a little bit about McAleer and Rushe before we kick off. I mean, McAleer and Rushe was founded in 1967 by Seamus McAleer. Seamus from Cookstown, and that's where our head office is and remains. Eamon Laverty joined the business shortly after that, and the two guys are the two primary shareholders of the company. Company is run then with the board of directors operating right across Ireland and the UK. I suppose in terms of scale of company at the minute, we are trading at just north of 500 million. So quite substantial in respect of our industry, certainly quite substantial in the context of Irish companies, north or south. In terms of our footprint, we operate across all of UK and Ireland with 22 live jobs at any one time. That work tends to be focused across the water, mainly in England, quite a few in Scotland, and then with a select number of jobs either in Belfast or Dublin. And in terms of overall staff numbers, directly employed is in around the 390, 400 mark, with then that stretching to several thousand, taking into consideration our supply chain and the scale of the work that we do. Just in respect of the actual work or projects themselves, they all tend to be landmark city centre schemes, high density, either residential, office, student accommodation or hotels. That would really be our bread and butter, and market sectors. One thing, and it's just a note on the left, I suppose, whilst we do big projects and we do a lot of work up and down the country, we're extremely proud of our roots here, Tyrone-based company, and it is the pride to continue to employ locally and take the attitude and the work ethic and I suppose the attitude that we have here as people, rural north to the large cities and so on, so that for us as a business has worked very well over the years. So just moving on, please, Padraig. So these are the 7 HLA students that we brought on last year. Again, I suppose as Deborah and Noreen have highlighted already, the HLA is that unique work-based program which enables the participants to earn while they earn. We had experimented with HLA program previously a number of years ago. At that stage, we had traditionally been taking students via the normal placement from their degree and then graduates following the completion of their degree. And that historically would have mainly been within construction, engineering and management students and quantity surveying students. So that would have been traditionally. When we dabbled with the HLA previously a number of years ago, it didn't actually turn out that successful for us at the time. Mainly high dropout rate. And when we reflected on that in early 2024, or late 2023, early 2024, we actually recognized that the main problem associated with the dropout was us as an employer and not necessarily with the kids or the students coming through. And what I mean by that is that actually for a HLA joining our business at 18 years of age, just coming out of their A-levels or BTEC, whatever the appropriate level was, they were coming across, their classmates and their peer group were moving on, a lot of them to Belfast for university life. So the HLA student was coming in, they were having to get out of bed every morning, go to work day in, day out, whilst their friends were enjoying university life in Belfast or wherever it happened to be. And as we all know, with social media and so on, it wasn't an easy place. So there was the reality of life and the reality of having to get up every day for work. And the reality from our perspective was that we didn't have enough support around the students at that stage or the kids at that stage. So 2023, 2024 was a renewed focus for us because we did recognize the massive benefits that HLA would bring to us as a business and the benefit obviously to the students themselves. So at that point, we introduced a training and development manager called Kevin Hughes, who has throughout that time then worked closely with their HR department to develop a really strong program, a structured program that the kids when they come in are well supported and they're well mentored and they're looked after. So and certainly what the results of that we've seen already is much improved from where we were before. And just as we see in the photograph, just there, the 7 HLA students that we took on last year, 5 of those are in quantity surveying, and the other 2 are in construction engineering and management. So just moving through, please, Padraig, for the next slide. So the benefits of employing the apprentice for the employers. So just like we've touched on, we have historically been a strong advocate of bringing new youth and new talent into the business. We have found that to be very successful over the years, and we see the HLA as a natural progression of that, then moving on from the more traditional graduates and placements like I've touched on before. From a cost-effective point of view, I suppose traditionally apprentices are going to be lower paid, albeit we start them off on a minimum wage, and it's really over to them then. So as we have pay structures in place and scale structures in place, we do leave it open to the students, and we challenge them to give us something to think about as they progress through the years of employment and their HLA. Whereby if they're being successful and if they're being ambitious and enthusiastic and demonstrating to us, well, then we're happy to adjust their pay to suit. In terms of new perspectives, it's that fresh energy and new ideas, as well as us as business adapting. It's always useful to take in younger people to see what they can offer you in terms of fresh ideas and innovation. And what I would say within that as well is understanding, I suppose, construction historically, in so far as roles. Everyone recognises that on a construction site, it's about building bricks, it's about building blocks, it's about putting on roofs and so on. But in terms of a £500 million construction business, it is a very broad spectrum of skills that make that happen. And it is everything from graphic designers to marketing, to health and safety, to environmental, to accountancy, to commercial, to project management, to site management, and so on and so on and so on. So those new perspectives that we bring in from the youngsters, it can really feed into any part of the business, even to the extent that we have our own social media guys looking after our own social media. So again, older people like me aren't the right people to be coming into that environment and necessarily tapped into the correct technology, whereas it's the younger staff and the potential of the HLA students to feed into that. Specific training, what we mean by that is the fact that, and Deborah touched on it, every company has their own way of doing things, and we see this as one of the largest benefits really from the HLA program, insofar as that, when in previous times when you graduated, you come out with a qualification, but did you really know anything about doing the job? Did you really know anything about the company that you were going to be working for? Probably not, and it took a long time potentially to bed in and be effective and contribute to the business. Whereas that specific training with HLA student, from day one, they're being brought into the business, they're being taught in the procedures and in the methods of how things are done within that business, and we see that as a massive benefit. In terms of that research that we've done around HLAs, that has certainly been a recurrent bit of feedback that we've had from other employers, whereby, year one will be very much learning and adapting and getting used to the environment. But from year 2 and year 3 onwards, at that stage, the HLA student will actually be offering you more than perhaps a placement or a graduate. They're really bedded in, and they're really getting to know the ways of doing things within the business. Employee retention, it's the same thing insofar as that we've found that generally across any of the students that we bring in, and we're seeing the same with the HLA, is that the students are loyal to you, and if you invest in them and if you look after them, and hopefully in terms of that environment that we currently have now in mentoring them and nurturing that talent, then that loyalty will be repaid in the form of employee retention. And enhancing the company culture, we've seen it insofar as that I think it's a very positive message. I know certainly as a parent and a parent of kids who are university age, the cost of education now, the potential debt that's associated with going to university and so on, it's a real factor. And from our perspective, from McAleer and Rushe's perspective, going into the schools and those touch points that you have with the A-level students, BTEC students within the further education bodies, and then to even the teachers, that's a very positive message to be given out that we as a business are taking on HLA students and doing our bit, and in a world where adding social value and contributing to communities in that respect, we've got great feedback, and I know that from on a personal level, that Seamus McAleer, who is still very much involved in the business, he takes super pride out of the fact that he has school principals writing to him, thanking him for the contact that McAleer and Rushe have made, and for the opportunity that is afforded to their students then beyond. And then just, I suppose, finally, in terms of that access to funding, and Noreen touched on it well around the fact that the fees for the students are covered, and that from an employer perspective, it's really only the wages then or the salaries that we have to incur. So Padraig, go to the next slide, please. So just focusing, I suppose, just on the challenges, and a quicker run through these. So in terms of finding a training provider, this in particular in Southwest College, we've done a lot of work with them in the past. As it turned out, it was University of Ulster that we settled on for our HLA programme to date. And that's with as I touched on before, the quantity surveying and construction engineering management. Any of you employers who are potentially looking at it, we were able to talk to University of Ulster around what the release would be, and that would be to suit ourselves if they could work with it, which they ended up doing. As well as that, they were able to reduce the term time a little bit, insofar as that some of the training that we were providing the students, particularly around health and safety and environmental, that Ulster University accepted that as it would substitute the modules that they had within their course, so it trimmed down the term time a little bit. So that flexibility was very useful with Ulster. And what I would say is that we're seeing more and more third level universities and colleges, offering the HLA and a broader route. So we definitely see potential for working with other providers down the line. The structured training plan, that was just really around additional paperwork and time that was associated with some of the charterships, quantity surveying route needing to go down the Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyors, and the engineering side going with the Chartered Institute of Building. So that took time and that took resource on our side. Identifying the most feasible departments, and that really is around where would the HLAs best fit in? Where would they get the best opportunity of learning and growing and developing? And ultimately, as they make their way through the course and their 5-year term, where would they make the greatest contribution? So at this moment in time, it is the quantity surveying, construction engineering and management, but we definitely have ambitions for growing that into the likes of graphic design, marketing, and accounts. So that's where we'd see the next phase, or the natural evolution of the HLA involvement within the business. And then assessment of professional competence, that's just around the fact that we need people within the business who are able to oversee or certify that the kids themselves are getting the appropriate level of professional development. Cost and time resources. So I suppose for challenges that we faced, the reality of most of our work, as I touched on at the start, is based in England or Scotland, with just some in Ireland. So from an engineering perspective, that was a very significant cost for us, insofar as that when we take anyone from here, and we are, with all that work is across the water, the vast majority of our staff do come from Ireland, north or south. So the cost of taking our engineer students across the water, accommodating them, flying them back and forward and so on, that was something that we had to consider. And then in terms of that time part of it, that's really around making sure that, those people that we're mentoring them and that we're teaming them up with are going to give the student the appropriate level of time to give them the best opportunity of thriving. And then finally, in terms of recruitment, that's in respect of the time taken to, I suppose, shortlisting, interviews, and so on, as well as knowing the best time to advertise, particularly when the best time to recruit, and that being relative to our competitors and our peer set. And I'd say one of the biggest challenges around recruitment is really, and it is a testament to the success of the scheme itself, is really the quantum and the volume of application that we're seeing with the HLAs. That reality of being able to get a good job with a good employer, with a good qualification at the end of it, and with no debt. So with all those things, that's a really positive outcome and a really positive message. And we're seeing huge demand now for in respect of applications. And we'd love to accommodate more. And obviously, great to see the employers joining the webinar. There's certainly a huge appetite amongst the younger people to go down this particular road. And just to finally conclude then, Padraig. So that's really it, other than to, I suppose, reinforce from an employer's point of view, McAleer and Rushe are very pleased to be contributing and affording our young people HLA opportunity, and we will definitely see it as a key part of the business going forward for continuing to introduce quality talent into the business. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Shane. That was excellent. So again, thank you so much to all our speakers, and thank you everyone for joining on. We're now moving on to our Q&A section of the webinar. So if I can invite our speakers to turn their cameras back on, if that would be. Thank you so much. So we are going to be joined by Noreen and Ian for the Q&A part of this webinar. If anyone has any questions to be directed to Deborah, you can pop them into the Q&A function. We'll be able to collate them and have them answered by Deborah via email. So again, if I can just ask if anyone has any questions for our speakers today, for Noreen or Shane, you can pop them into the Q&A function. You'll be able to find this at the bottom of your screen. Again, you can use this with your name attached to it. Equally, you can ask this anonymously. And we ask that if you have any questions specifically for someone, that you can direct that to them and just pop their name in the chat as well. Guys, I'm just going to start off. I actually have a quick question that has come through. It's not directed to anyone, but I think it has been brought up in all the presentations today, but I just wanted to reiterate that and ask the question. Is there any funding available to to the employers? Noreen, if we can even start with you there.
No problem. Unfortunately, there's not for HLAs. There is for the level 2 and level 3. There's a small contribution, and there was during COVID time for the HLA programme. But the way the department see it is they pay the fees and you are given that higher calibre student, and that's proved, and Shane referred to it there, and other employers will come back and say the same thing. They come out of school, they're cold, they're 18 years of age, but they pick up very, very quickly. So really the department see the funding as being the asset they are to your company.
No, yeah, exactly, Noreen. That's amazing. Thank you so much for that. I have a question in here from Michael. Michael hasn't pitched this question in particular, but he has asked, do you find that you retain the students after they have qualified?
Well, I'll jump in on that, Noreen, if that's okay. So we actually have a couple of, so whilst we relaunched our HLA programme from last year, historically we have had a number of HLA students come through, and they are still with the business. I think what I would say is that our HLA is a 5-year term, so as they make their way through, they're learning all the time, but certainly from a year 3, they're really contributing. Year 5, they're fully qualified and fully up to speed with the ways of the business. And from us, from our perspective, the employer's perspective, we're very keen to keep them at that point. So far, so good on that front.
Amazing, Shane. Thank you so much for that. Again, folks, if you have any questions, you can pop them into the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen there. Yes, we have another question in. It says, we are in early stages of exploring apprenticeships. I have some concern over making sure we have the correct support structure in place. We are SME, so resources are stretched. I'm not too sure if that's more of a question or if it's just a kind of comment.
I'll answer that first, and then Shane, if you could come in behind me because you know it from the live side. So from the college point of view, and I'm sure the university is the same, there's a support mechanism in there. So what happens is when the HLAs are brought on board, we have an academic mentor, and that's from either that's from us at the college or from the university. I'm sure they have it. And then you have a nominated workplace mentor. And those two people mentor and the HLA through the program. And we have lots and lots of small organizations. And we develop that mentoring program with them. So we support the business as well as supporting the HLA. So it doesn't matter what size the company. We have huge companies, and we maybe have 10. In fact, we have a couple of companies and we have 18 HLAs with them, and that's a different ball game altogether. But I wouldn't be concerned about. Deborah did say you need time and effort, but sometimes the time and effort taken at the start is rewarded very quickly. It depends on the HLA you have. You want to come after that, Shane?
Yeah, and I couldn't agree more. I mean, whilst we are a larger business, we recognise the challenges that come with an SME, and we certainly consider ourselves to be very much, show empathy to the smaller companies, because that's really what our supply chain's made up of, and we're very proud of that fact. We don't go for the largest company all the time. It is more about the people. And I think it's that thing of the people. So even though companies with limited resources should not fear that support element of it, because it is more really whether you've 1, 3, 5, 10, 15 employees, whoever you're taking in, it's simply about affording them a little bit of time, and that can be simply a cup of coffee on a Monday morning that sets them up for the week, or it can be something more regular, a couple of times a week, whatever it is. I think whenever I touch on that challenge of the supporting the kids and supporting the student, it's that we all were through in at the deep end to some degree. But at some point, it is very useful just to be touching base every so often. And I think everyone needs that reassurance, and everybody needs that support. But it doesn't need to be super formal, doesn't need to be super involved, doesn't need to be a dedicated employee to do it. It's just about remembering that they're there, remembering that they are fresh out of school and they're not going to know everything, and remembering that, a pat on the back or a positive bit of commentary with them will give them that reassurance and confidence to keep growing. Definitely do not be afraid of it, or definitely do not think that it is something just for larger companies, because it's not.
Thank you so much, Noreen. Thank you so much, Shane. There were 2 brilliant answers. Again, guys, if anyone has any questions, you can pop them into the Q&A function below. I'm just got a question in here. They have asked, can you do the employers pay wages for the day they attend the college?
They do indeed. They pay for the hours. So some of our subjects are 6 hours. The hours in the classroom, not their lunch breaks or anything. They do get paid for the hours they're in the classroom, as well as the hours they're at work, and they have to get paid. They're not higher level apprentices are not paid apprenticeship rate. They're paid at least basic minimum wage. And what a lot of employers will do is they'll start them off on that, and particularly the smaller organisations. And then they'll review the salary on a maybe 3 monthly basis or 6 monthly, but that's entirely in the hands of the employer. We can only dictate, or the department dictates, that it has to be basic minimum wage, and they must be paid for the hours they're in college. Because if they're not paid for the hours in college, then they're not an eligible HLA.
Thank you so much, Noreen. That actually answers one of the questions that just came in there about what rate of the pay do the HLA receive. Is it apprentices or minimum wage? But thank you so much for that, Noreen. I have a question that has come in and not directed at anyone in particular. So if anyone would like to answer, that would be perfect. Did you find it difficult identifying which HLA course best suited business needs the most?
Well, I maybe take that one.
Sure.
We cheated a little bit insofar as that we stuck to what we knew, and that got us up and going with those sort of two core. But like I touched on before, we have a very diverse range of I suppose careers here, with a very diverse skill set. And we definitely see opportunity within those other sort of peripheral type careers, such as health and safety, environmental, the graphic designer, the marketing, and the accountancy, and so on. So whilst we have a core, we stuck to that. We definitely will be, for the next cohort, be looking at broadening that.
I suppose if I could come in there as well, the idea behind the HLA program is that you don't specifically employ them just for one role. So you wouldn't employ a HLA just to do administration. There's nothing to say they can't do. So say it was a business HLA, but they have to get a taste of everything. And then eventually you know, and they know which best suit. Is it marketing? Is it HR? Is it finance? So that they are supposed to get a taste of a few roles within the organisation.
No, that's amazing, guys. Thank you so much. And yeah, and from the sounds of it, so they'll get a full taste of the organization, and build up their skill set as well, and be able to tailor that to go forward in the future. That's amazing. I do have another question that is coming in, and guys, just to remind you, if you have a question, you can pop them in the Q&A function at the bottom. If we do run out of time, then we'll be able to answer any of those questions and get them out to you via email after this session as well. So I have one final question that has come in, and it is asking, what options are there for study time, or would this be usually 1 day per week, or could you advise otherwise?
You want me to take that one, Shane, or are you happy to go?
Well, you go first. Yeah, you go first, Noreen. Yeah.
Different providers dictate, but when we set up the programs with the employers, we always the HLA is always with the employer 4 days a week, and with us 1 day a week. And our academic year is 30 weeks in the year. And as I said, I think previously in my slides, if they don't get college holidays or anything like that, the employer dictates, because they're your employee. But it's 1 day a week for the 1 day a week with us. And depending on the subject, now if you were doing business or accountancy, that's about 6 hours. If you were doing computing, that's about 10 hours. If you were doing engineering, that's about 8 to 10 hours. We try where possible not to take them into the college more than 1 day, but if we do, we will take them in an evening. We'll not disturb the 4 days that the HLA is at work.
And just to extend that, whilst how it differs now from what it was before for ourselves, we've recognised the importance of, the kids, when they're working with us, will be contributing in some way, so that you could make an excuse for them to be working all the time and not give any time for their study. But actually, it's more about, they're in the university or the college 1 day a week, they're with us the 4. But if there's exam times or if there's coursework, then we do for them, whether it's a half a day here and there, to be able to do their work. And I think we've found benefit in that, insofar as that they don't feel overloaded, and secondly, that we're not prioritizing the here and now over what is their longer term education. So there could be an important task surely for them to do today, but actually that's a very short term way of looking at things. So we've in that support structure that we've put around them, that's one of their key roles, is to make sure that whoever their line manager is or their mentor is, that they're affording them sufficient time to back up their studies.
Well, thank you so much, Noreen. Thank you so much, Shane, for those 2 excellent answers. I'm sure all of the guests attending today are very appreciative of those answers and responding to those queries. So unfortunately, we have run out of time. But again, as I said, that any questions that have gone answered, the Mid Ulster LMP will coordinate a response and circulate to all who have attended this session. So just then, to wrap up, I want to say a thank you to Noreen from Southwest College, Deborah from Scott's Bakery, and Shane from McAleer and Rushe. And thank you to everyone who attended today. It's really great greatly appreciated. This webinar was organised by Mid Ulster Labour Market Partnership, and you will shortly receive an evaluation survey to let them know what you thought of today's session. I'm also going to share my screen here today as well, and that will actually have a QR code to that post-event survey, and I kindly ask that if you can spend the next few moments, use your mobile device to scan the QR code and take 2 minutes out of your time to complete that feedback form. Equally, you will also receive this as well in an email after today's event. Again, I just wanted to say thank you to all our speakers, thank you to all who attended, and have a great day.